right, hello. Welcome to another virtual bass lesson for Drummond. This will be for Jack and Amelia. So first things first, let's make sure we are tuned up. So from the top, just to kind of reiterate that, we have G. That'll be our top string. Let's make sure we got our G sounding nice and good. Then we're going to go down to D. And then we have A. And then we have an E. So again, if you need to take a second, pause, make sure we're all in tune. If you have, hopefully you have like an app or something, maybe a snark at home, maybe some other kind of tuner by now. So take a second, make sure we're all in tune. But once you guys are ready, sounds like I'm all good. Another little trick, if you guys are tuning, I think we've talked about this before, but your G there, your highest G, is also the 5th fret on our D string. So if you do tune with a tuner, check each string, make sure the strings sound good. But if you want to do kind of a double test, make sure that your instrument is in tune with itself. You can go up to the 5th fret on your D string. You'll hear G. Those are the same notes, so you can kind of double those and see if there's any difference in pitch. Same goes for the A string. If you slide up to the 5th fret of the A string, that will be your D. So the same as your D string, your open D string, your 3rd string. So again, you can check with that, and the same goes for your E string. So that is an A. That is your 5th fret. So our bass is in 4ths. So you can always, it's also just good to know that in general as sort of a reference point. If you get a little bit lost on the neck, if let's say you're on the D string and you're rolling on C, and then you got to go to D next, well, you can slide to that 5th fret, you can go to open D. We have another D up there, and a D right there. So, as we have this time, take some time to really get to know your neck. It's going to be really important to kind of be able to maneuver and know, okay, I have an F here. Now I can slide up here, and I also have that same F. And then you, of course, have your lowest F. I think F is kind of a good starting point to start to get to know the neck. To get to know the neck. That's where I kind of just started, just because it's your first fret, and we often kind of will rely on our open notes as bass players. That is really important because you do want to be able to kind of move pretty quickly sometimes, but it's also, again, good important stuff to know that your F can be played up here, can be played up here, can play in high F, and the same goes for all the notes. So start, climbing the neck a little bit. This can be done just kind of in sort of just experimenting. Some of the most fun I have when I'm practicing at home alone is just messing around, just really not to say that when you're practicing you shouldn't be focused at all, but sometimes it's perfectly okay to sort of just relax and play your instrument a little bit. Just get to know it. Find what sounds cool. Get your fingers used to moving around. So just kind of mess around a little bit. Find some fun spots. So now that we've covered that, let's get into our next song. So we should be continuing to practice Cut My Lip, and My Name is Jonas. But I want to start covering Wood, the Alice in Chains song. So first things first, guys, go and listen to that song. I know we all did some good listening of the songs that we chose sort of a couple months ago, back at the beginning of the semester, but I think it's probably important we have to revisit that, kind of get that muscle memory back into just us knowing the song and knowing, when some of the changes come. Listen to the melody, get some words of the chorus stuck in your head, and have it running through your head for a little bit so we can start to get used to just playing it. So first things first, the bass line is super important in this song. It's really cool. It's a super cool riff, super grungy song. So the bass player in this song is unfortunately tuned half a step down. So what we're going to be playing is going to sound a little bit different. I don't want that to like discourage you or anything. But what he does is like how we talked about. We have E, A, D, G. He goes a half step down. He has E flat as his lowest note. I don't really want to do that for this. It's going to become kind of tedious because all of our other songs are in standard tuning, which is what we're in tune to now. So what we're going to do now as a result of this is kind of, transpose his part to our instrument since we're in standard. So he's playing an E flat. He's playing an E flat that's really low. He's also using a pick in this song. So here's an opportunity. If you guys have a pick at home, I would recommend giving the pick a shot. We've mostly used our fingers, and if that's what you're comfortable doing and that's how you want to play it, I'd say stick with that and keep practicing using your two fingers to be plucking. But there's a cool sound. The pick, it does sound kind of cool. It's got a little bit of a different tone, a different sort of feel to it, a different way you kind of approach rhythm, because you can kind of tremolo pick there. You can do all sorts of different things. So it is good to kind of venture into using a pick as a bass player. I think it's important to kind of know both. At the end of the day, I think most bass players will use their fingers, and that's going to be the most important thing for us to learn. So if you want to use your fingers, use your fingers. But if you feel like sort of experimenting a little bit, trying to kind of emulate the tone that Alice in Chains has in this song, if you have a pick at home, try messing around with it a little bit. So moving on from that, that's going to be our riff. So again, it's not going to sound as low, but where we're going to start, like I said, we're in E flat here. So we're going to start on our E flat on our A string. So that's our 6th fret. So that's going to be our first little note line there. So we're going to be going from E flat to F, and that's F also on the A string. So just kind of a nice little hammer on. And then, so this one's really going to kind of just circulate through 3 notes here. We've got E flat on our 6th fret, F on our 8th fret, and then F sharp on our 9th fret. All on the A string. So now, like we were talking about earlier, you could play this down here. You could play those 3 notes on the D string. But my preference is to kind of play it lower here, get a little bit more of that low end, especially because we're going to be compensating for not being in drop tuning here. So that's going to be our 3 notes for this one: E flat, F, F sharp. Now I want to show you guys something else here. Here's our rhythm. Now this is going to look maybe a little bit crazy to start, but you guys we have talked about this type of stuff before, so we know what these kind of represent. So take a second, look at this. There's a little bit of a glare. Hopefully that's not too impossible to read. But so here's our bass rhythm, and I just wanted to bring this up because it's important for us to start recognizing things like this. So we've talked about this, the notes with 2 hats. I always just call them hats, double lines on the top, hats. Those are 16th notes, and when we see like right here, or like in this second measure here, we've only got 1 line at the top, 1 hat. That is an 8th note. So our rhythm here is going to go 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and 4 and a 1 and 2 E and a 3 and 4 and a. So that's all of our rhythm together. And if you need to take a second, like maybe pause this and take a look at this rhythm, kind of try and internalize that a little bit and sort of really understand what's going on here. So it's a little bit tricky. It's a cool pattern here. What's interesting about it is you can see how we can break up 8th notes and 16th notes in an individual beat. So a 16th note will be 4 notes in 1 beat. So I've written it out up top here, Sue, so you can count 1 E and right? So our 8th note lands here. If this was just an 8th note, we had 2 notes per beat. We would cut out these 2 notes here. We've got E and So we count this 1 E and right? So 1E and a 2E and a 3E and 4 and a 1 and 2E and a 3 and 4 and a. So there's a little pickup there. So again, take a second, try and kind of internalize what that rhythm is going to look like for us. It's just good to kind of visualize. Now I probably won't do this for like the whole song because it's just like kind of a lot of little jumpy rhythms once we start to get into like the chorus and everything. So we're not going to be looking at like, you know, I'm not going to present you guys a massive lead sheet with every little rhythm distinctly written out like that because I don't know if that would be super productive. But the reason I show you this is because it's important to start kind of like visualizing some rhythms that we were able to hear. So we want to ultimately kind of combine the worlds of having our ears that can pick up things and learn how to play. They can play things like that. If you just listen to it and then you're able to play it, that's a great skill, and I think learning things by ear is hugely important. But you kind of want to blend those worlds of understanding what you're hearing and understanding how that works on paper, and then you can really start to visualize it, and then your playing can become a little bit more detailed and intricate, I suppose, in how well maybe that you're doing it, especially when you're doing cover songs, because you can really lock in on some of the details that the bass player is doing. So again, let's add the rhythm and the notes together. So we've got, again, E flat, F, and F sharp are our notes, or G flat. I guess we could call it G flat. So here's our rhythm: 1E and a 2E and a 3E and 4 and a 1 and 2E and a 3 and 4 and a. Right? So it's kind of a tricky pattern. I got lost in that one myself a little bit. So let's do that again. So I'll do it a little bit slower. 1, 2, ready, go. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and 4 and a 1 and 2E and a 3 and 4 and a 1E and a 2E and a 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2E and a 3 and 4 and a. Like that. So listen to that one. Start to try and get that rhythm down. Start to try and add those notes. You can, of course, always do it a little bit slower. We talked about using a metronome a little bit in the last video, so maybe start adding a metronome to it. And yeah, and we'll dive more into that one in the next video. I'll probably reiterate that part, but start practicing it, start listening to it, and we'll see you in the next video.